Our next example, we have 6x squared minus 11x plus 3. So again, we always start by looking for a greatest common factor, and here there's not a greatest common factor to factor out. So using our step-by-step process, we multiply the first number times the last number. 6 times 3 gives us 18. So we want to figure out what we can multiply to get 18 that's going to add up to a minus 11. So let's see, 1 and 18, that adds up to 19. That's not going to work. 2 times 9, that multiplies to be 18, and it adds up to a positive 11. So we could make it a negative 11 just by making them both negative. They would still multiply to be a positive 18, but they add up to that negative 11 that we're looking for. So we leave the 6x squared at the beginning alone, and instead of minus 11x, we're going to use those two numbers that we just found. Minus 2x minus 9x. And we leave that plus 3 at the end alone. Now we get into factoring by grouping. From our first group, 6x squared minus 2x, you could factor out a 2 and an x from each one of those. 6x squared divided by 2x is 3x. And then we have a minus 2x divided by 2x is 1. Now our next group, they're both divisible by 3, but remember, when your group starts with something negative, you have to factor out something negative. So instead of factoring out a 3, we're going to factor out a negative 3. And we divide them both by negative 3 to see what's left. Negative 9x divided by negative 3 is a positive 3x. 3 divided by negative 3 is minus 1. And now we can see we've got that 3x minus 1 parentheses in both parts. So we put that at the front. From the first part, we would have a 2x left over. From the last part, we would have minus 3 left over. So you can see we've taken pretty much exactly the same number of steps on the last couple of problems. The same number of steps there that we did here, the same steps that we did here. That's why I like learning this method instead of just doing guessing and checking all the time. Sometimes with guessing and checking, you could sit there for 20 minutes and maybe just not happen to guess the right combination. This method, it takes a little while, but you can notice once you get used to it, it's about the same 6 or 7 steps every time. It takes a while to learn them, but once you learn them, you can get to be very good at this kind of factoring. Let's take a look at one more problem. Here we have 8x to the 5th plus 6x to the 4th minus 9x cubed. So we always start by looking for a greatest common factor. And here, there's no number that they're all divisible by, but they do all have x's. So we're going to start by factoring out our greatest common factor, which is x to the 3rd. So to see what's left, I divide them all by x to the 3rd. 8x to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd is 8x squared. 6x to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd is plus 6x. Minus 9x to the 3rd divided by x to the 3rd, we would just have minus 9. Now, I've got an x to the 3rd at the beginning, and I know I want to split that next group up into parts. To do that, let's use our process. We multiply the first number times the last number. So 8 times negative 9, we would have negative 72. Now we need to figure out what we can multiply to be negative 72 that adds up to a positive 6. So let's see, 1 times 72 doesn't help. Remember, we do have a negative here, so we know we're going to need one of our numbers to be negative. But even if one of those was negative, it's not going to add up to 6. We could do 2 times 36. That's not going to help. Let's see. 3 times 18, I could make that a 15 or negative 15. That doesn't help. 4 times 18. Not 18. It was the 3 times 18 was wrong. It was 3 times 24. Either way, it's not going to be the right answer. Let's see, 5 doesn't go in there. 6 goes in there 12 times. This is going to work. Because if I do negative 6 times 12, I get negative 72. Negative 6 plus 12 is that positive 6 that I'm looking for. So I would leave the 8x squared alone and then rewrite that middle term using those two numbers that I just found. So instead of plus 6x, we have minus 6x plus 12x, and then a minus 9. And with this, I do the factoring by grouping. From that first group, it looks like I could factor out a, whoa. What did it just do? I could factor out a 2 from both of those, and I could factor out an x from both of those. I divide both of those by 2x. 8x squared divided by 2x is 4x. Minus 6x divided by 2x is minus 3. From 12x minus 9, those are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to divide them both by a positive 3. 12x divided by 3 is 4x. Negative 9 divided by 3 is a minus 3. So I'm going to put that 4x minus 3 at the front. And then I have 2x from the first group plus 3 from the last group. And don't forget that greatest common factor that we have, the x cubed, doesn't go away. It's still there. So the final answer for this problem would be x cubed times 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 3.